Okay guys, in this video we're gonna go ahead and add the year or the coming year in the background here, and we also want to have a little spinner graphic so that when we load the page we don't see that 00. And there's other ways we could do this, but I like the spinner idea. So let's start with the date or the year. So right here you can see we have the placeholder, and I can actually just hard code it here for now. We'll just say 2021. So if I save, it just looks like this right now. So we need to actually style this. So we need to go back into our CSS, and we'll just close that up. We want to style this. So I'm going to go, let's see, we'll go right under the H1 here, and there's a class of year. And we want it to be really big, so I'm going to set the font size to 200 pixels. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. Next, we want to move it behind the rest of the content, so we'll add a z-index of -1, which will push it behind everything. Okay, even the overlay, which is good. And then I want to make it even lighter, so I'll set the opacity here to 0.2. So that will really fade it into the background. And then let's position it. And I mean, you can do this however you want. If you want it smaller, if you want to put it somewhere else, you can do that. But I'm going to position it absolute from the bottom, 20 pixels, and from the left, 50%. Now, it's not going to be right in the middle by just saying left 50%, because what happens is that just the beginning is at the 50% point. So to fix that, we use transform and then translate X, because it's on the X axis, and we want to move it -50%. Okay, so we're just moving the actual element back 50% to the left, which is negative. Okay, and then let's just set, actually I think that's it. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good. I mean, it's going to look different depending on the size of your browser. You know, if it's up here, it'll go behind it or whatever. But I just want it kind of positioned fixed in the background, or absolute in the background. But if you want to put it somewhere else, absolutely you can do that. So in order for this to not be hard-coded, because I mean, if it turns 2021, this is still going to say 2021, and we want it to then change to 2022. So let's actually get rid of the year, the hard-coded year, so it disappears. And then let's go back into our JavaScript, and all we have to do is bring in our DOM element, the year. So let's say document dot get element by ID, and it has an ID of year. And then I'm just going to go right under, where do we want to go? Let's go right above the function here and just simply set the year. We'll put a comment here. We'll say set background year, and we'll take the year, we'll set the inner text, and we'll set it to the current year, but we want to add one to it. So if we save, now we get 2021. If I were to change this, let's say current year plus 2, which would make it 2022, oh, I'm sorry, that's not what I want to do. I want to change this current year. So if I add 1 to this, there we go. So now it's 2022. Okay, so it depends on whatever this is. So now that we've done that, let's take care of the spinner. So I'm going to go to the HTML, and I'm just going to uncomment this. And now this is just going to show all the time. So what we want to do is go into our JavaScript, and I'm going to go down to the bottom here. Actually, let me add a comment here. So this will update time, or update countdown time, which is pretty self-explanatory, but I like to have comments on my functions. And this will run every second. But right here, what I want to do is show spinner before countdown. And then right here, these that we're adding, let's say add values to DOM. So to show the spinner, I'm going to actually set a timeout here. So set timeout will take in a function, and then we can do whatever we want in this function, and it will happen whatever the amount of time we put here, it'll happen after that. So we want this to happen in 1 second, so 1,000 milliseconds. And what we want to do is take loading, which we didn't actually bring in, so we have to go up to the top here. Oops. We have to go up to the top and bring in loading. Just copy that down, and let's take this. So loading. Okay, so we're bringing that in, and then we're going to set loading and we're just going to remove it. Okay, so there's a method called remove that will just completely remove something from the DOM. So if I save this, what's going to happen is after a second, when the page loads, the loading thing goes away. But you can see that the zeros are still there. This thing is still here. So all we have to do now is in the CSS, you'll see that the countdown is set to flex. I'm actually gonna comment that out, and I'm gonna set it display none so that it doesn't show. And then in the JavaScript, right after that is removed, we'll take the countdown and we're gonna set the style from here, set the display value back to flex after 1 second. Okay, so it just won't show for 1 second. And there we go. So now when we come to the page, for 1 second it's going to show the spinner, and then after that it's going to make the spinner go away, and it's going to show the countdown because we're setting the display value from none, which it is set initially, to flex, which is what we had it to before. Okay, so now we have this as a dynamic countdown, and you don't have to go in and manually change the date or anything like that. So you know, I thought it was a cool little project. I know it's a real short one, but it teaches you a little bit about time and dates and time and stuff like that. All right, so that's it. I'll see you in the next one.